Greetings to all customers and partners of our online crowdfunding platform RSW Systems, as well as to all investors in string transportation technology. Just recently an interview with me was published where I, as the head of the RSW Systems crowdfunding platform, talked about the changes that are coming in 2024 related to the development and rebranding of our platform. This has caused a certain reaction. I would even say, information resonance among our clients, which I am very happy about. Because those questions, comments that you asked and voiced on our information resources show that you are not indifferent to what is happening in the development of our platform. I sincerely thank you for your feedback and, as the head of the platform, I have given you an obligation to explain why this procedure is necessary, what is its rationale, and why we are doing it now. I would like to divide our communication with you in this video into 3 parts. The first is an understanding of why the rebranding is needed here and now. The second is answering your specific questions that have been asked, constructive questions that have been voiced by you. And the third is that I will outline the changes that will take place step by step on the renewed platform. Let us start with the first point. The first point will help us to understand, in my opinion, the basic things that go deep into the history of the project's development, the very beginning of crowdfunding as a model for financing string transportation. In 2013, Anatoly Yunitsky made it possible for everyone to become a co-owner of their own technology through investment crowdfunding. Our platform was launched, on which you and I are all customers, the RSW Systems platform, which stands for Rail Skyway Systems. From the first months, when the process of developing our platform, attracting investments, the first investment capital began to form, Anatoly Yunitsky took on the work, the area of responsibility that he took on, and that was, directly, the creation of technology. The first design bureaus, the first teams were created, and the structure of the group of companies, which owns the intellectual property, began to form. In parallel, the crowdfunding model that was launched also began to develop very rapidly. In my opinion, this is due to the fact that there was no such precedent before in the CIS, Europe, Eastern Europe, or the Asian market. In principle, such a large-scale crowdfunding project has not been launched in the world, and the people who came to develop this model, they came from different structures, with different experience, different visions, and different motivations. This is even going to be very key now. What happened over the next 7 years, somewhere up to 2020? The company that owns the intellectual property had several investment partners. These were crowdfunding platforms and funds that were actively doing their work. Our platform, in principle, since 2015 developed in an autonomous mode, because the first team that led this direction stopped its active work, and the RSW Systems platform was autonomous, but it fulfilled all its obligations and helped people to become co-owners of the string transportation technology. But unfortunately what happened was that because what was created for the first time, I mean both the technology and the crowdfunding model to fund it, there were certain side effects in the form that a lot of people who took an active position in attracting investment in the string transport technology very often were wishful thinking and declaring certain obligations on the part of the company that owns the intellectual property. They declared things that were not true. Some people were promised a large capitalization in a short period of time, the IPO of the company that owns the intellectual property in specific dates and years. Many people were promised things that did not correspond to reality. In other words, it was wishful thinking. This has resulted in irreparable reputational damage and damage to the development of the technology itself over the years. Why? Because the Skyway brand, which we all love and know so well, although it is already history, was, let us say, compromised. Because both the companies that belonged to the structure that owned the intellectual property and the companies that promoted with the help of crowdfunding, bearing the same name led to confusion. It was all mixed up together, and it was unclear to potential technology customers what Skyway even was. Is it a crowdfunding model of financing? Is it a technology? Or is it something else? Therefore, in 2021, Anatoly Yunitsky responsibly announced on the official resource why the company, the group of companies that develops and implements string transportation, is switching to a new brand, which will carry the full name of what the technology is and the activities it conducts. And so the company has started to be called Unitsky String Technology, which is very proper. In parallel, those entities that are involved in funding the technology, the crowdfunding platforms, are also interested in making sure that as little reputational damage as possible is done to the development of the technology. And that is why the old brand, the old abbreviation, the name Skyway, should not be used now to promote our activities. And this is quite logical, understandable, and, in my opinion, obvious. As for our platform, the name Rail Skyway Systems reflects the name of an old venture capital investment project from back in 2013. But we are not in the development business. We are not in the engineering business. We are not in the business of anything that has to do with string technology and transportation in general. We are a platform that provides a service for our client to become a co-owner through our platform through convertible loan agreements, to become a co-owner of a company that owns intellectual property, and through one of the holdings to be listed in the register of that company. So when some of you wrote those comments and remarks that we invested in Skyway, we invested in RSW, we invested in the technology, you're absolutely right. You have invested in the technology, but you have not invested in the RSW Systems platform. You didn't invest in the engineering company. Each of you invested in a company that owns intellectual property, a company called Global Transport Investment, which includes several holdings that have a registry, and we are listed on that registry as full co-owners according to the amounts that we invest. What is the summary of what I have just voiced? Due to the incompetence of many clients and active partners who have been doing their work for many years, this has caused reputational damage to the technology itself. You can read about it in the article from November 2021. It will be attached to this video where Anatoly Yunitsky talks about it in great detail. So, talking about our rebranding, this is the main reason why we are doing it. 1. We don't want to mix the old brand and those old reputational risks and consequences that we have now. 2. We want to carry a name for our platform that captures the essence of what we do in a philosophically profound way. We chose the name Micron. And if we talk specifically about our activities that we do, it's micro-investing. Micro-investing to create a big global project and to influence the creation and deployment of industry-shaping technology around the world. You and I remember Anatoly Yunitsky's first address back in those distant years. We are creating the biggest business in the history of civilization, and each of you will be able to own meters or kilometers of these roads. So this is the logic. Micron is a micro-investment that can make a big project. I'll tell you more. Even the slogan of our platform is, "From small to great." And that, in my opinion, explains in the most direct and simple way what we do. I think that those who first heard about it, it's logical, it's understandable that everything new is not immediately perceived and you don't immediately understand why it's so. Everyone has their own opinion, we are entitled to it. But I, as the head of the platform, as an active participant in this area, who has been involved in this development for 10 years, I am deeply convinced that this philosophy, this brand, this name will give a completely new life, and will allow us to move to a more active activity. Moreover, each of you knows that now the group of companies, which owns intellectual property, has moved to its 15th, most responsible stage of development. And here, it is important for us to understand that the way we will be active, the success, speed and realization of this technology will depend on it. You and I have seen that this year the company has a huge potential for the realization of commercial projects in the coming years. You and I have seen that in 2023, the company that owns intellectual property, GDI, it has declared its development vector for the coming years, one of which is also about dividend payments. But we must understand that this is only a vector, this is the direction that the company is following, and we all sincerely believe that everything that would have been declared is fulfilled. But it also depends on you and me what this result will be. I think the question of why the rebranding is being done is clear. To summarize, I think each of you will read the information about why the company that owns the intellectual property and the owner of the technology itself argued for it, recall this information, and the questions about rebranding will disappear. And why RSW, Rail Skyway Systems, we are changing its name to another name, I think it is clear to you too. Now let's move on to the more specific questions that you asked. One of them was as follows. Will the financial and legal model of our work affect you in any way? Will the rebranding affect the shares that you already own, and will it have any impact on your future payments? First of all, you are customers of the platform, but investors in the technology. Accordingly, we are in fact, in simple terms, just a store where you buy specific products. If you once bought products from one store of one brand, you remain its owner. In other words, if you've made your investments through the RSW Systems platform over the years through convertible loan agreements and become co-owners of string transportation technology, everything remains the same. You've all received a global transport investment statement from one of the holdings. Everything remains the same with no absolute changes. Second, going forward, when we go through the rebranding procedures in 2024, everything remains exactly the same. We will also remain an online platform, a marketing company that gives this service of becoming a co-owner of technology. And you will also be included in the same registry, in the same group of companies, nothing changes. There was a very interesting question about why we call some people clients, some people investors, and so on. It is important to understand. If we talk about being a platform, we are a website, a platform through which all the processes that I have already said many times in this video. First of all, you become a customer when you sign up on our platform. You are a user and a potential customer. First, you are a user of our platform. Next, you study the information and decide to become an investor. You invest your money, choose one of the products that are featured on our platform, and then you become a customer and an investor in string transportation technology. A client of our platform, but an investor in string transportation technology. There is a third step, which can also be on your part, and some of you are. You can take an active part in the development of our platform, an active part in popularizing string transport technologies by becoming our partners and participating in our partner network. This is the third, so to speak, status or gradation of our customers. That is, the first is a user, or a client, then an investor and a partner in the agency network. I think it is important for each of you to understand this, because some of our clients have resonated that sometimes I use such a word as client, that we are no longer investors, but just clients. It is important to understand who is who on our platform. I sometimes use the phrase client when referring to people who are registered with us but are not investors, or who are investors but are not partners. So here we need to understand the gradation of our users who can go from one to the other. Next, there was a very important question about whether the rebranding procedure will affect any additional financial costs. First of all, we are not a company that operates offline. We currently have no official representative offices in the regions. We do not have our own offices and places where we would need to spend money to change the signboard, to change some marketing products that we would use in the form of magazines, presentation materials, and so on. We don't need to incur costs for all of that. And then the next question followed, but at whose expense is the rebranding being done? I answer responsibly and tell you straightforwardly, I bear the costs associated with the rebranding of our platform myself, as the head of the RSW Systems platform and as the founder and CEO of Micron. So, friends, this will in no way reflect any additional costs on the part of the RSW Systems platform. I am doing this exclusively at my own personal expense. There was another question. For a long time you have not seen me in live broadcasts, so to speak, in public. This was due to the fact that we were preparing the whole process, the whole procedure, the scheme of interaction of our future updated platform. Therefore, from now on and already from 2024 on a regular basis, I will be with you in live broadcasts, in my addresses. It will be a very interesting, exciting year in terms of how we will interact with our customers. I think you noticed that after the interview was released, I very actively joined the discussion with you, answering your questions even then in the chat room, giving answers to your questions and commenting on what you were asking. So this format of interaction, of feedback from my side personally, from our team, it will be on a regular basis. I think it will be a very good practice, when we all together will discuss urgent, quivering, important topics in the development of our platform and in the development of string transportation technology. Because the news that has been coming out lately is very encouraging for us that the moment is not far off when there will be a mass process of commercialization of string transport technology in many countries and in many cities. I would also like to highlight one very important, key point. Many of you have asked about corporate training, its necessity and expediency. What is the benefit for me, as the head of the platform? What is the benefit for us? If you remember the beginning of our video, I talked about the fact that for many years the work of many agents was very poorly done, in bad faith, and carried great reputational risks. That's the first point, it's very important, it's key. But there is another. The questions that were voiced in the chat this week, they also carried a clear understanding for me, as the head of the platform, that many of our clients do not quite understand the financial and legal structure of the group of companies that owns intellectual property. They don't realize that they invested not in RSW Systems, but directly in global transport investment. There are many other things that simply bring out the need for this corporate training. And in answer to the question of whether corporate training will be paid, my clear position, of which I am deeply convinced, is that training on the platform, in a company that we want to develop and that we want it to be filled with informed, educated partners, training cannot be paid. It will be exclusively free for anyone who wants to actively participate in the affiliate network. This training will include basic knowledge of the financial and legal model of the group of companies that owns the technology, basic knowledge related to venture capital investment, crowdfunding activities, where we directly apply the investment model. The training will focus on how to sell our services correctly and incorrectly. The training will be aimed at using innovative methods of promotion. This is a completely new innovative direction, which Dmitry Slyusar and I partially touched on in our joint interview, which you have recently watched. But there will be more information about this later. So the issue of corporate training, it will be free, it is necessary, and I think this approach is very, very correct. Some colleagues have voiced the following phrase: "We all believed Unitsky when we invested our money," and so on and so forth. Many say, so to speak, when they will, there will be capitalization of the company, technology, and so on. Friends, let's be honest with you. First of all, you did not believe Anatoly Unitsky, you believed the person who first gave you information about this technology. And only after you studied the information, saw that behind this technology there is a person who can be trusted, saw that behind the technology there is a professional, a genius of our time, and only then you made a decision. But the key person, or the first touch, was the person who presented this information to you. And here is the question, friends, how skillfully he presented this information to you, how skillfully he gave you recommendations and explained to you that this is a long-term, venture capital and high-risk project. Especially I am talking now about the period from 2014 to 2018. Then it was one period of technology development. Now the technology has moved from being a venture capital project to a full-fledged investment and commercial project. But nevertheless, all the partners who came before the 18th, 20th year, each of you, first of all came on the person who gave you this information. So the responsibility for how the information is further disseminated rests solely on that first touch. And this again comes down to training. If a person does not know how to do it, what they are entitled to, what they are not entitled to, we will not get that far. So, corporate training, it will be mandatory and it will be launched in 2024. Also, friends, systematically sounded questions that relate to the tokenization of technology, directly exchange of shares back to those first tokens that were issued, processes and procedures for exchanging existing tokens for new tokens, well, and so on, everything related to this. I have already announced in the previous interview that we will have detailed information from the representatives of the platform, from the team that is now professionally engaged in digitalization and tokenization of string transport technologies. And in January we will release for you a full interview with a representative of the team, where you will get comprehensive information on this issue. We discussed with you the first 2 points I announced, which are the reasons for the rebranding, its necessity, and the reasoning behind it with all its implications. I have answered the main questions that you have asked. And now, let's talk briefly about the step-by-step processes that will take place on our platform. You remember, I announced in the interview that we will have a closed meeting for those active partners who have the desire and ambition to become our representatives in the regions. The first thing I want to say is that we are in the process of rebranding and now creating a full-fledged marketing structure that will allow us to have representation in the regions, to cooperate with regional managers in these regions, and to conduct full-fledged training for these people. So, friends, each of you now has the opportunity to get to this private meeting where I will explain the whole strategy and vision of how we will develop in the future 2024 in new markets and new territories. So this is the first such very important moment. After you and I have already seen the updated site, seen the new brand, we will move on to the formation of a separate section in our personal account as corporate training. The section will be filled with the necessary material, content. And then we will discuss the process of introducing corporate training in live broadcasts. As for the innovative tools that we will use throughout 2024, we will also do this step by step and gradually. We will create the first focus group to use these tools, create teams of enthusiasts who will want to use it and see the results, which I am sure will exceed your expectations. And that, friends, is the events that will touch January, February, and March 2024. So to say, the process of innovations is not long enough, but it is not fast enough either. So I personally will not declare to you specific dates. I will not announce specific terms, but I want to encourage you to subscribe to all our information resources that we have, and to follow all the news that we have on the website of our online crowdfunding platform. And at the end of our meeting with you, I want to say, friends, if you have not received answers to your questions, or if you still have some misunderstandings about what is happening, you can freely write your questions to our information resources, Telegram channel, support service on our website. We will promptly provide information, and, as you can see, as the head of the platform, I am as open as possible for personal communication with you and am always ready to be useful to you in order to make your work and cooperation on our platform efficient, productive, and successful. The year 2023 is a very significant year for us, because this year our platform celebrates its 10th anniversary. Each of you has seen special offers, investment offers that have not been seen in the last few years, and these offers are really unique. So, friends, we for our part have shown such loyalty and made a very, I believe, generous gift for the true connoisseurs and supporters of string transportation technology. The year 2024, as you have seen or heard from this interview, from the previous information that I have given, it promises us great changes, great prospects. Because the creation of a marketing company, a marketing platform that will enable each of you to grow in a new way, that, friends, is the next decades of change that could impact the lives of you, of your loved ones. And the tools, the opportunities that our platform will provide will truly facilitate that. I wish each of you in 2024 that your plans, goals, dreams and desires are realized, and you get real pleasure, enjoyment and peace of mind from it. I am grateful to each of you for your active position on our platform. Thank you for your attention to this video, and see you soon.